Mark Carney has won in Canada. So this means that a liberal government is forming. And I'm going to walk through in this video what it means, what the implications are, and how you can best benefit from this. So just for context, this is coming from the perspective of founder of a company that raises money, throughout North America. So maybe for those who are watching, Mark Carney was the economic advisor of Justin Trudeau, the previous Prime Minister of Canada. And I strongly can see that the Conservative Party, which is the right party, which to the Americans listening, that's like our version of Republicans, basically, they were in a good position to win. And many people speculate that it's due to the threats of annexation, of annexing Canada, of America taking over Canada, and America also entering a trade war with Canada, that Carney won. Many people, just to be honest, hated Justin Trudeau. There were literally flags around the country saying "F Trudeau." So people were really tired of him. Yet his party won because during the time when America started threatening to, annex Canada, people rallied behind him because the quickest way to unite a country is to choose a quote-unquote enemy. That's the quickest way to unite any house, is to find a common quote-unquote enemy. And unfortunately, for many Canadians, that's what America started to be. That being said, what this means for you, Carney generally seems to be, in my opinion, hard to read. He seems to be a very elite, high-class, ex-investment banker and bank manager. He managed the Bank of England, Bank of Canada. He worked at Goldman. He went to Harvard. He's a very elite man. He goes to the Bilderberg meetings, and many people will call him an elitist or a globalist. So he comes from that world of high finance and the Ivy League world. So he's the type of person that is very elite, and he seems to be very, how can I say it? He came, virtually nobody knew who he was around 4 months before this video I'm making is published. And 4 months after, he became the Prime Minister of Canada. So the fact is, he really knows how to maneuver a playing field, and he seems very calculated and strategic in the decisions he makes to gain power. But that being said, he does seem to speak like a moderate. During his debates with the other candidates, he does seem to speak like a moderate. He distanced himself from the far left while also saying things that please the right. He said things like, when Jagmeet Singh, one of the more far left party leaders, now his party is decimated, asked him, "Are you going to call what's happening in the whole Israel and Palestine area? Are you going to call that a genocide?" And he said, "No, I'm not going to call it a genocide. I'm not going to politicize it." And he went as far as saying he's going to lower the capital gains tax increase. So the capital gains tax, this is a tax that people make when their investments grow in value. It went from 50% of profits from these capital gains to 66% through the last leader, Justin Trudeau. And Carney now wants to reverse that to bring it back to 50% to what it used to be. So it seems like he's really playing it's like almost like a successful version of Kamala Harris, in a sense of, or even more successful in a sense of, he came from a more elite privileged background than Kamala Harris, and he seemingly skips the process of going through, I guess, the equivalent of a primary, because the Liberal Party scrambled to find somebody that would make sense and that would work with him, and then he ended up running and winning in a very sudden and short amount of time. So I can see Canada, and at least in the short term, leaning towards a more moderate type of alignment, especially considering that they didn't win a majority government. So unlike, I guess, the American equivalent is Trump won a lot of the, like the Republicans down south won a lot of the, you know, a lot of, got a lot of power and a lot of overwhelming ability to make decisions. But the liberal government is a minority government. So what that means is that they don't have the ability to, you know, pass as much legislation as they may want to. Hence why when he came into this campaign, he was trying to pose as almost like a moderate. So I think not much is really going to change, frankly. I think ultimately slightly less liberal policies than the last leader. What it means in terms of the world is hard to know, because it looks like they're going to be, because Carney seems to align himself with the Bilderbergs, and he worked out, I believe, at the WEF, the World Economic Forum. Many people say he's going to be a globalist, and there may be a stronger alliance between Canada and the EU. And some people go as far as saying that there's going to be three major empires in the world at this point. There's going to be the BRICS nations, it's going to be the EU and Canada, and then there's going to be the US empire, so to speak. So this looks like it will be an opportunity for Canada to get closer to the EU. For whatever reason, liberal or Democrat ways of thinking and policies tend to align with the UN and the quote-unquote UN sustainable goals, for instance. So there'll be more of a push for Canada to into that direction. But at the same time, in the next 6 to, I believe, 12 months, there could be a call for another election because the Liberals only have the minority government. So that's pretty much it. And how can we make money of this and benefit from this? Well, mainly just know that going forward, this may strain US-Canada relationships further going forward. It may continue to strain the relationship further, in a sense of politically, the alignment between Canada and the US isn't the same, so there'll be a stronger distance between the two. And because a lot of people are angry at Trump in Canada, it would mean, because of the threats of taking over Canada, because most Canadians on the left especially don't want that to happen, it could be a greater divide between the two countries. So that would just make trade, I guess cross-border business trade semantics, the perception seem more distance between Canada and America than it ever was. Because when Poilievre was campaigning, Poilievre literally studied, you could tell that he studied, or his people studied, how Trump campaigns and use a lot of nouns to associate and create enemies. For example, Poilievre would say, oh, the lost liberal decade, the liberal gag, the chokehold they had on him. So he was very, very good at, Poilievre was very good at identifying an enemy and assigning it like a brand, like a noun, and then saying it over and over again and blaming other people. So it's sort of like the Trump style of politics, but it didn't really seem authentic enough or work or resonate with the audience enough to warrant him getting a lot of votes. And also him identifying with that was perhaps the reason why Trump probably saw it as something, or people saw it as something that reminded him of Trump. And even though obviously he was for Canada being sovereign, there are more people that are conservative that are open to being annexed by Canada than people on the left. So I think Trump wanting to annex Canada actually had a major role, probably bigger than any role almost, in helping Mark Carney win. Because most people that are liberal don't associate with, some of the right-wing politics in the United States. So with this, just know the rift is going to get bigger. And when there's a rift that gets bigger, just know that do cross-border business now. Make sure you look for businesses that depend on cross-border trade, Canada, etc. And you look to see if you can buy underpriced businesses or raise money for underpriced businesses or consult underpriced businesses, because there are tons of businesses that are going to be underpriced that depend on using products between Canada and America, travel businesses, etc. And so just to take advantage of those businesses, because I think the relation between Canada and the US will continue to get worse, at least for the next 2 years. And with that, I look forward to seeing you in the next one.